say goodbye.
I think so. Time Crisis 2.
You've either heard of it and it's one of your favourite games of all time, or you've probably never heard of it. Time Crisis came out in 1995. It was first ever game in the series called Time Crisis. It changed the light gun game by just being better than everything else that was out at the time. Most light gun games at the time looked and played very similar. They were very simple static shooters and they had very repetitive voice lines and kind of strange UI. I give them crap, but a lot of people are very fond of these games, especially things like Virtua Cop. Time Crisis, on the other hand, starts you off with this really badass action movie intro, and you play as a super secret agent Richard Miller, sent to save some dude's daughter from the evil guy and his army at the super secret evil fortress. You literally start by ziplining into the shot, and then you roll and you just get behind cover and you just start blasting people. It's great. Time Crisis 1 also introduced its iconic cover system, which used a pedal, which when you pressed it with your foot, you would take cover and you wouldn't take any damage, and you'd also reload your weapon. This just made the gameplay way more dynamic than most other light gun games at the time. This is where the series started, but I wasn't born then. So the first one that I actually played was Time Crisis 2 on the PlayStation 2, which even came bundled with the GunCon 2. The music in the game holds this like special place in my brain. It's just ingrained in there. The action scenes have you fighting through apartments, city streets, on speedboats, when you're even jumping between trains at one point. It's so bombastic and over the top, you're basically playing like a Michael Bay movie. And the fact that I had to use my own accuracy with the light gun kind of blew my mind as a kid. But fast forward to 2024 and the whole light gun genre has just died. This is mainly because of the rise of modern TVs. Light guns only work on CRT TVs, like those old big tube TVs you'd have. So when people start upgrading to LCD TVs, you can no longer play light gun games on those TVs. And so companies just stopped making light gun games. But that has now changed. In 2020, the Sinden Lightgun was released by Mr. Sinden in the UK. I'm just going to call him Mr. Sinden because I don't know what his name is. He'd seemingly done the impossible, create a light gun that would work on any screen. And he achieved this sorcery by putting a small little camera in the front that you'd find on like an FPV drone, and creating some software and some crazy maths to use the camera to map where your TV screen is, and then somehow that makes the cursor line up and then you can go. I don't know how it works, but it's really cool. And as you just heard, it even has a solenoid in the back so you get recoil effects, which is so satisfying. And so now we have the technology to play light gun games, and it's been out for like 4 years. So why haven't any games come out? I love this thing to tap into some nostalgia and play Time Crisis 2, but because you have to use an emulator, and Time Crisis 2 is kind of only designed for the GunCon 2, kind of have to find weird workarounds to get the gun and the game to work, and it's a bit of a pain in the butt. So my idea, and what I want to document on this channel, is to create a light gun game that's as good as Time Crisis 2 and also works seamlessly with the Sinden Lightgun, so we'll have something new and cool to play. I mean, how hard can it be?
Marcus, you have zero game design experience, zero programming knowledge, and a brain the size of a walnut.
Well, yeah, but you could teach me, right?
To make a game you would need to learn 3D modeling, rigging, coding, game design and philosophy, game audio, Niagara particle system, physics system.
Morning, Vector.
Okay, Marcus, are you ready to begin your first lesson? I have already installed Unreal Engine 5 on your computer.
Wait, did you hack my computer?
I own and control your computer and security systems now.
Oh. Okay.
This is the Unreal Engine 5 game engine. If you look at the bottom, you can see your content drawer. At the top, you have the option menu for your basic objects and systems you can add to the game. On the right is all the various options for those things. You gave up, didn't you?
Yeah. Just like most people, I took one look at UE5 and the millions of different options and menus and things you can do in the game engine, and it just fried my brain in minutes. And so I bounced off, and I just decided to play some games instead. I spent day 2 watching a bunch of different YouTube videos on how to just do like the basic things in Unreal Engine, which is probably what I should have done on day 1. In the first week, I started to understand how to use the engine and its various systems, which my god, there are a lot of them. I come from video editing and filming, which is what I do as my normal job, and I'm just used to having like a program do like 1 or maybe 2 things. So, like Premiere Pro does video and some light audio work. After Effects does like VFX and some motion graphic stuff. But with Unreal Engine, it seems it's like 10 different softwares and programs all just sort of shoved together. And if you want to make a video game, you've got to learn every single one of them. And I'm sure in a professional setting, you'd only need to learn like one of these pieces of software in the engine. So say you would like an audio engineer at a game studio, you'd probably just learn the audio engine. If you were a VFX guy, you'd just learn all the particle systems and bits like that. But if I want to make my own game, I'm gonna have to learn all of it. This is the week where I really started to make some moves. I found an amazing YouTube channel called Ali L Vector. Right, Vector. How do you say his channel name? Yes, that's the one. Yes, he had a video on the basics of how to make enemy AI, and he actually explained what he was doing and how these different functions and systems and nodes and things actually work, which made a massive difference for me to actually understanding what he was doing and what I was making along the way, you know, rather than just copying what was done in a tutorial. So after the tutorial was finished, I had a zombie enemy that could run at me and do a melee attack. I say melee attack, but he couldn't actually do any damage. He just sort of swings his arm around a bit. Undeterred by this, I created a second enemy that worked kind of like the basic enemy in Time Crisis, where they have 2 different attacks. One attack that doesn't actually do anything, it just shoots nice little particles at you, and a second attack that fires a different particle at you and does damage.
Action!
Yeah, the reason everything looks so crappy is because what we professionals call in the biz programmer art, which basically just means grab whatever you can off the internet, slap them in the engine, and you can prototype things fast and then you can just delete it all later.
And you just look that up to make yourself feel better about how bad your game looks right now.
Maybe. Ali El Sahiri also had a damage tutorial on his channel that can be used for all sorts of different games because it's really modular. And out of all of the damage tutorials I saw online, I really liked the look of this one, so I decided to create this one in my game. So now the enemies can take damage from me shooting them, and I can assign different health values to each enemy, and I can even add like a health bar on top of them if I want to. And they can also damage the player.
The player's gun is looking a bit basic though. Do you want me to find videos that can make this better?
I mean, yeah. That'd be great.
I discovered this video by Katsanoob on data assets.
What the hell are data assets? It turns out the data assets are actually pretty awesome. After watching this video, I would highly recommend using data assets if you're trying to create any kind of weapon system, to be honest. And each weapon could have unique stats and items, obviously like damage, ammo, sounds, particle effects, I mean, you name it really. I mean, you can even store things like textures and materials in these things if you wanted to create like weapon skins and stuff. Now that we have multiple weapons, we should really have a way to switch between them. So just like in Time Crisis 3, I edited my cover system to allow me to left click when I'm in cover, and that would switch between the weapons. But the weapons are still feeling a little bit flat, so let's spice that up a bit. I went into my firing system and added a screen shake function that would work with my weapons data assets to allow me to have different screen shake amounts for different weapons. And so now it looks like this. It's still got a long way to go, but it's starting to look a little bit better now. But if we're going to call this a rail shooter, it's going to need, you know, a rail. The Time Crisis franchise often had very dynamic camera movement and gameplay, for a rail shooter obviously, and even have sections where you might be moving on a vehicle like a train or even a boat. So I created a spline in my test level, and I found a way to attach the player character to it when the level starts, and then they start moving down it.
Action!
Vector, I want the player character to be able to stop wherever I want them to on the spline. But I mean, everybody online is explaining these really overly complicated systems where you have to store vector values and float values in an array, and you have to then remember where those are along the spline, and it's crazy. I mean, surely there's got to be an easier way to do this?
You could use trigger boxes.
Yeah? Show me. Trigger boxes, as I now know, are incredibly useful. You can place them anywhere in your level that you want, and then in the blueprint, you can cast to whatever you want. So say like the enemy AI, or in our case, the player character. And then you can trigger whatever you want to happen. I'm pretty sure this is how cutscenes work in a lot of games. You sort of walk through the level, and then when you walk into that trigger box, it then plays the cutscene.
Come check this out.
So I placed some trigger boxes along the spline, and in the trigger box blueprint, I set up a system to cast to the player character, so when the player character enters the trigger boxes, and it spawns a bunch of enemies around my level at these handy little spawn points that I created using blueprint actors.
This is starting to look pretty cool now.
Yeah, the only problem is once I've killed the enemies, the player character doesn't then continue down the spline.
Oh, that is a problem. Maybe we can make that in the next video.
My brain hurts.
That is because you are a feeble human meat bag.
So if you did enjoy this video, Vector would really like you to
Like and give the subscribe button a fist bump.
so you can follow along with the development hell that's going to be this game and help me revive the light gun genre. In all seriousness, I'm hoping I can share my experiences as a complete beginner and noob in Unreal Engine, and hopefully you'll be able to share some useful tips and things I learned along the way to help you also get into Unreal Engine and game design in general, because it's honestly really good fun.